I'm here with King from the Direwolves. Mate, that game was some good watching. What was it like playing?
Well, for me, it wasn't that fun because I don't think, no matter what champ you play right now, Nocturne will kill you, and that's what he did to me that game.
Yeah, did you expect Steel to be that annoying on the Nocturne, particularly pre-6?
Yeah, most champions, like Talia and like Zinzao, Camille, like you expect them to level 2 gank bot, so like normally we ward for that sort of gank, but Nocturne just like, oh, there's no way he can gank. Well, at least that's what I thought then. Yeah, Cupcake, he didn't survive that one.
And I feel like even though, the early game was tough, you ended up taking the win, so I feel like you're taking some lessons away from that now, that apparently Nocturne can do those things, and that's something to watch out for in the future. Speaking, though, as a team, this is Bipanther's first international event. How did you guys go about preparing him for this?
I think we needed to do any preparation, really. Like, when we chose Bipanther, like, this, like, quality of just, like, not being able to be, like, affected, affected by any of these like versing scary players or like being on attachment stage, like that's why we chose him. Yeah. Because we knew he wouldn't be affected, and it showed. Like he literally 1v5 that game. Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, like the rest of you guys cannot be shook. That's the Bipanther motto. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations, undefeated so far. You got one more game tonight.
We're versing Ascension, right?
Yeah, I believe you are. Yeah.
I think that'll be tough, but I'm excited.
Yeah, you're up for it.
Yep.
Beautiful. All right, I'm going to see you guys after these highlights.
In comes the Nocturne and the Rumble Ultimate on top of him. It's going to be golden for triple, but he will just burn down, and Seros gets the kill. Seros goes in with a last breath. He's going up and shut down by the Mundo. It's going to be a 2-for-1 trade. In comes Vivid, in comes the Paranoia, in comes absolutely everything. DFM looking for the fight. It's been a 1-for-1 so far. They're trying to chunk through Biopanther, but he's got the ultimate on. Now they're trying to run underneath the turret. It's a double kill. Into the red carpet. Here's going to be the fight. Seros is so low. Paranoia's on, and nobody knows where anybody is. It's one for DFM, but they're all got blinking health bars. They're all starting to fall apart. Direwolves have turned the fight in favor. Another Slippy Bubble Trouble's there. Everything has gone wrong for DFM, and Vivid falls. It's a 4-for-1. Biopanther is healing up even more. The Wimble's there. Triples found the kill. Direwolves are turning it on as the carpet gets laid, but it's not going to be enough. King even has a GA to boot, and it looks like Direwolves have won the fight. The Nexus goes down in 30 minutes, and Direwolves take down DFM. OPL is 5-1 on the board.
Oh, baby, what a game of League of Legends we just saw. I feel like that was the first time tonight we saw two teams who really just showed up to play. There was heaps of back and forth, stacks of kills. EGEM, even though Direwolves ended up taking the win, it felt like the early game for Dead FM was a bunch of, you can't do that, and Dead FM were like, nah.
100%. Direwolves, by all extents and purposes, were losing for the majority of that game. We saw the Nocturne start red, immediately go bot, blow up the Braum, go Scuttle Crab, then go mid, get Zoe Flash. That's a pre-6 Nocturne getting so many ganks off successfully that just really shouldn't be happening in this sort of composition. Schönfire is the Oceanic jungler that's been playing a lot of the Nocturne, a lot of the Hecarim, things like that, and the tables just got completely turned. Japan don't seem to be the aggressive region. We'll be talking so much about how that is OS coming into this tournament, but Dead FM specifically from the Japanese region are that team that are breaking the mold here today.
Yeah, it was exciting stuff to watch, and even though Dead FM started strong, Direwolves basically showed and growed. They ended up taking the win. How did they get back into the game?
Yeah, it was there was lots of things, right? They held on, holding onto the gold lead for a very long time. They were pretty even for the majority of the game, despite having absolutely no control. And it was that Baron fight that really turned it around. It was the combo, because this was a press R composition from Dead FM. They had the Rumble, the Alistar, the Yasuo. They had everything to go in on the team fight. And they go in on the combo, lands on the two tankiest members of Direwolves, and they turn it around, get the Baron, and ultimately end the game. So Direwolves do a lot of things well to stick into the game, and then eventually they do punish the error.
And so next up, we've got Pentagram versus Hunters. Are we going to see another slugfest like the one before?
Honestly, I don't think so. Going into this game, I'm backing Pentagram 100%. They've had some good showings despite losing games, but for me, KLH, I actually don't know what they need to do to get some victories here. Now, they're 0-2 in the tournament. They've lost 2 games. They've only played Oceanic teams, so there's going to be a style mismatch going into Japan, but they just seem to be getting outplayed on the micro level. It's not even team play and cohesion that's really breaking down. It's just individually, they're just getting outplayed in their lanes.
So you're picking Pentagram?
Yep, 100%.
I believe miracles can happen, so I'm going to go the opposite. Let's throw it over to the caster's desk to find out.
Thank you so much, Nick. Of course, I am Jake Spawn Tiberi. Joining me is my long-lost prodigal son in Zach Rusty Pie. Zach, you ditched me for the LPL. You're back for Rift Rivals. How you been?
I am. It's good to be back with the man who first started play-by-play casting with me as well back at League of Origin in 2017. This will be interesting to see how it goes again.
Certainly was some fun times back then. A really good game here. The next game is going to be LJL versus Southeast Asia as Pentagram take on the Kuala Lumpur Hunters.
Yeah, now Kuala Lumpur Hunters, Ejim mentioned it, so they're an easy place to start looking towards. And we just do not know what to expect from this team. And if they are losing in the micro, then the macro doesn't matter all that much. And that's a major concern for them so far.
And we saw they weren't giving themselves much protection during that draft. Sure, the only game we saw today, you know, Swain into Cassiopeia. That's never going to be an easy matchup for the Swain.
Yep.
Tank into Kled. Kled runs over them as well. So what would you like to see them, you know, just change and try something different? Is it that early game?
I think it should just be drafting to win lanes a little bit more. You know, if their weakness seems to be that they are losing in little details, just make it so that doesn't happen. A lot of teams draft for team fights or team compositions for 5v5s. You could do what the Chiefs did against them, and that is actually just pick to control those lanes.
Certainly was. Well, if they're going to do that, they're going to have to get through Pentagram, of course. First seed coming out of the LJL. Paz in the top lane. Once is their jungler. Ramune in the mid lane. Yutori Moyashi is their AD carry, and Gong is their support. And this is a team that across the board just is strong at the moment, has had their ups and downs, but they do have the LJL's only win.
Yeah, they definitely do. They are the beacon of hope, let's say, for the LJL, the team that needs to win this game. And LJL should get some kind of momentum, some kind of win under their wings and stay in this tournament feeling at least okay about themselves. And the loss that they have currently 1-1 Pentagram was an Aatrox. It wasn't exactly something that you take away. Perhaps some surprise factor, maybe a lot of respect to Ascension. They're still a strong team that commands respect.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I do want to say that, you know, nothing is set in stone yet. It looks like Oceania is going through. So if you are the LJL, pray that Oceania keeps winning and then hope that your team can now turn it around. I think the big thing here for me is, you know, that curveball in the Aatrox isn't what we're used to seeing out of this team. They are a very standard late game comp.
Yeah, usually Detonation Focus Me are the ones that bring out something wacky and crazy, and it's usually against this team. Rampage, now known as Pentagram, went to MSI, they played standard there, and the things that looked good for Rampage, I'm going to stop saying Rampage, Pentagram at MSI was their AD carry position being super aggressive, and that's the place that I actually think is super important in this tournament. Yutori had a good Lucian game, but he hasn't really been putting out the damage like the rest of his team has been in this tournament, and that's a complete shift for them in terms of dynamics. Ramune has been doing the bulk of the damage.
Yeah, it certainly is. See whether they can get back to that. Of course, our opponents are the Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Shiro in the top lane. Caspiel is their jungler. Arhedge in the mid lane. Ozoraveki and Superior is their support. There's so many letters in some of their names. Ozoraveki is where I want to start here because he is also the area that we thought would be a shining light. Bringing back in Superior was supposed to be a big boon to this bottom lane. So far this tournament, not what we've seen.
And for those who don't know, Ozoraveki, also known as Orazio Fantasia, he was from the LMS, played for Hong Kong Esports, so came back over and as a prodigal, someone who was meant to be a big carry for the team and just hasn't really shown up all that much at this tournament. And that's a similar story to their opponents here of Pentagram. The AD carry a big role. Harder to use that role in the current meta.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I also want to talk about pace of games because we've seen Kuala Lumpur Hunters, as we said, play against both the Oceanic teams. They're playing fast. We expect the LJL to play slower. Do you think that this is an area that now helps KLH?
I think this may be a better showing from them in this game if Pentagram continue to play slow. And I think winning lane may help for them, like we mentioned at the start. But I think even just the matchup against the respective LJL opponents here could be a foot in the door for the Kuala Lumpur Hunters and that extra boon that Southeast Asia need.
All right, we are into Champion Select. It's going to be Pentagram on your blue side. It's going to be Kuala Lumpur Hunters on the red side. Already we have a couple of bans coming through. Zoe and Morgana taken off the board. And I know that you think that Pentagram really is just playing that tournament meta right now, really is fitting the mold very nicely.
And they are the ones that banned away the Zoe, so that's the curious thing to me. On blue side, banning Zoe, it's the only champion that Ramune has played, so when they go in tournament standard, it makes me think of the Nocturne, actually, as one of those higher priority champions that may need to be taken from them.
Potentially could be the case. Jungle has received a lot of bans at this tournament. Talia, Nocturne have both been very high priority. Lucian and Swain taken away.
Swain taking away from a first pick flex pick here from Pentagram. Not a bad choice, but more often than not, Swain has been seen on the red side of the Rift, as there are usually higher priority champions there. So that's curious to me. Yutori Moyashi does not have a Swain game yet. It's Vladimir and Lucian, respectively. And it does feel like these teams in the ban phase are banning from their own side of the Rift, but away from their opponents.
It certainly could be the case. It's going to be Sejuani taken away, maybe throwing the gauntlet. We will take the Taliyah, we will take the Nocturne. Nocturne banned away. This points potentially towards that Taliyah first pick.
And I do like that option a lot here. Definitely should be a Taliyah, especially when Ramune could potentially play that in the mid lane, something that we'll need to see from them through the draft phase. One of the strongest junglers, one of the strongest flex junglers at that, whereas the things that respond to Taliyah, like the Xin Zhao's, can't really flex that, so it's much more defined.
Yeah, a little bit more of a linear champion, Xin Zhao. Not the tools that a Taliyah necessarily has in the kids. Shiro just flashes an Aatrox over the Rift towards Paz. I actually like the Aatrox. I mean, he took down like 4 turret solo. He got outscaled in the end. Sure, that's going to happen.
The quote was, he's not a bad champion.
He's not that bad.
He's not that bad was the takeaway from that game. And I know that there's videos going around of him not doing a lot of damage. Well, he was 1v5 as a late game disruptor. What do you want from him?
Certainly was the case. It's going to be Xayah Rakan. So the Starcross Lovers bottom lane picked up down there. And certainly has seen a resurgence in the current meta.
Yeah, it definitely has. For me, being from the LPL, it's Ashtam Kench that do the same thing, but we've got the Rakan for Engage, which does do wonders for KLH, and it's an opportunity for Azora Vecchi to be a hard carry right now.
Certainly is a little bit more agency given to Soup down in the bottom lane as well. Flex Vladimir picked up by once for potentially Ramune, potentially Yutori Moyashi, although I would prefer to see him on something a little bit more high mechanical down there in the bottom lane.
Knows what he's against as well, so maybe they look towards the Sanguine pool as a countermeasure to the Xayah Feathers from the pullback of that one. So we'll have to see, but I agree, I'd love to see, obviously they can't be the Lucian, but something of that like, something of that caliber that really gets you going. Kaiser is the one that I would think of.
Yeah, potentially Kaiser. Maybe you even go for lane bully. You just go something like Draven, which we've seen internationally played a little bit more into things like Xayah. Alistar going to be the lock in here. And Mundo potentially going to be hovered here. Will be locked in as well.
And secured, so they get the big tank in the top lane. I mean, KLH, that's pretty stock standard as a comp goes for your first 3 picks. You put the duo together in the draft, and then you get a Mundo for top lane. You're good to go. You do expose the jungle to 2 more bans, which is a big risk. That's something that we'll have to watch in the second ban phase, as ultimately that's what I would be taking away from Caspiel.
Yeah, it could be the case. I mean, we have seen some weird, crazy, you know, maybe jungle funnel Rakans running around Summoner's Rift a little bit in solo queue. Darius going to be locked in here. I want to talk to you about Mundo. To me, seems like a champion that is either real good or complete useless, depending on how well he scales and when he hits those item breakpoints.
Yeah, for sure. It's also about like, what does the comp build against him of the opposing side? Are they an Executioner's Call or building composition? And in the second pick phase is usually when you see the Mundo. So you run a big risk by going for it third. It's a big force into the composition as draft goes. So get the item spikes, feel real good about yourself. Get the level spikes, feel even better. 11 and 16 are those massive breakpoints. But if the opposing side gets an AD carry for Yutori, they get an opportunity to build an exec calling. They'll be feeling better for themselves through the early and mid.
I also think that in the LPL recently, we've seen a couple of bonkers things like Veins swapped into the top lane against Mundo.
It's Uzi. It's absolutely an Uzi thing, but you are correct. They are trying to beat Mundo down, and they're letting the pick go through.
Yeah, it certainly is. So it's going to be Darius Ornn banned away to try and protect that Mundo, and 2 jungle bans thrown at Caspiel, in Camille, in the Olaf.
And I would say that these second ban phases are very unsurprising from each respective team. You mentioned it's protecting the Mundo, who may have some bad matchups. Darius is the one that starts to hurt him. And of course, there's the champion that we mentioned at the start of this, given all the bans Pentagram threw.
Yeah, and potentially Pentagram just wanted that linear champ out there. They think they can play around it. Xin Zhao has more tools now. The ultimate has been changed and the W was reworked. So a little bit better than he was back when we used to play the game.
Absolutely.
But still very much just the rush in and win now kind of thing.
He's absolutely still a put your face in it type of champion that can only go one direction, whereas the rest of his comp kind of can be a bit more dynamic, and if they're going forwards or backwards, Rakan the best example of being both super effectively. Pentagram on the opposite side see opportunities to perhaps just continue to scale up against their opponents, and they do add some physical damage to the fray, which to me says Vlad going bottom lane.
Potentially could be the case. You know, Aurelia still up and available, although would be a blind pick. Yasuo still hasn't been touched either. However, a couple of flex hovers here as well. So Ryze is finally locked in.
And now we just don't know.
Yep.
we do know that it's a Talia going into the jungle role, but if it's the Ryze or the Vladimir mid lane, it was to be determined. I would expect Ryze mid, Vlad bottom.
Yep.
So in terms of their laning strength.
The only time I've seen Ryze bottom is actually into Vladimir, because it is a little bit of that counter pick. Otherwise, I think you will be right.
Could be a denial even from the opposing side, but at the same time where the lanes start to flex is interesting to watch here. Great last pick from KLH actually to round out their comp.
Certainly is. Just gives them a big pushing lane there in the Karma. But once again, pure scaling, a lot of teamfight initiation coming out of KLH. I think this is the best draft they've had so far.
And I'm curious to watch the rest of the Xin Zhao should be going in jungle, should be a very standard composition from KLH. And with that team fighting prowess that they've got, with the scaling that they'll get for themselves in a physical variety, when you highlight their opponents, that is a lot of things that can just plainly kill a Zoraveki and have no troubles at all in doing so.
Yeah, it certainly is. Pentagram, they have the scaling elements, they have a lot of damage, but they do need to get there. At the same time, KLH, they're going to have the super tank, they're going to have the engage out of the Rakan, and then of course all the utility of Karma. I think it is a well-balanced comp, potentially can get late game, but maybe not as scary once it gets there.
And the big question for Kuala Lumpur Hunters is, can they get to late game as the team themselves? Note that it's a 2-2 scoreline, but that is Southeast Asia's score. Kuala Lumpur Hunters have been both of those defeats so far. They don't want to risk a third loss in a row, and this is a good chance for them to get back on the right foot.
It certainly is, and against an opponent that is currently down, but not out in the LJL. Really right now it is on Pentagram's shoulders to try and carry this region back into a positive Rift Rivals performance, because it has been very tough for the defending champions.
Certainly has been. 1-5, nothing short of a disaster as starts go. Detonation Focus Me not finding those victories. Unsold Stuff Gaming the exact same. For Pentagram, this win is super crucial.
Yeah, it is, and you know, Detonation Focus Me really is that one that's sticking out like a sore thumb. Undefeated last split till the finals, little bit of a choke. Undefeated this split so far, actually took out Pentagram just in week number 1. And this tournament just not having any of the luck. See whether now is a time it changes for Japan.
And in that last game, they still had most of the control as well. So that's the scary thing, to have control of the game, to not be able to end the game and perhaps get outscaled or out-executed in team fights. I feel like the same concern does ring true coming into this 4th game of the day.
Well, we are onto Summoner's Rift. It is the LJL's Pentagram taking on the Southeast Asian Tour Kuala Lumpur Hunters. And I feel like we haven't had all that much level 1 shenanigans a lot of this patch. This patch is real good for level 1 shenanigans. You know, late invades, just face checks, but not really all that much happening this tournament, Rusty.
I think the most we had was the first game of the day where they just counter-engaged on someone trying to not even invade as a 5-man, but just walk in to place deeper vision. So we are sorely lacking in those level 1 fights.
And that's what I liked, the flash tackle from Mimic. He was really proactive with that. Lots of other teams just would have let him walk away.
Or just threatened and, scared him off. Definitely didn't happen in the Legacy game. I agree with you. I like it. But I would like to see so much more of it, especially when you've got this reliance on a champion like, let's say, Talia, that wants to get that early clear with a duo lane helping her get over to the Scuttle Crab as fast as possible and skirmish well. I feel like you could do things.
Certainly could. However, we are going to see the map split right now. Mundo going to lease for Xin Zhao in the top lane. You can already see Zoraveki grabbing that wave. That's going to be a hard push and try and deny some CS.
That is an invade, however, from the side of KLH, so you'll take that as a small victory, and we'll see how the response comes across from Pentagram. They've already pinged the enemy blue buff, so you would expect that very early they go over towards that one. Maybe Scuttle then blue for the Talia could be the name of the game, but he clears too quickly, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see whether it actually works out.
He's
because
afraid.
You can see right now, both lanes are actually collapsing onto one, so it does need to be careful with all that priority.
Yeah, that was also a ward place to spot the Karma for when he goes to the blue buff. Maybe hoping to time out some of the vision that spots him. Wait a little bit longer, but then the Xin Zhao, who could have walked over if he chose, perhaps, to try and make some kind of countermeasure there. He's prioritizing his own red side. He's prioritizing his own clear for maybe a topside gank.
Once is in behind them right now. Soup is going to face check him. A little bit of damage coming out. However, they do go aggressive. Not much happening.
I wonder if that was just a lot of respect given to the Rakan and the Xayah. Not knowing what spells perhaps were leveled is the Rakan, but it was the Q and it was the E. So dashes to safety. And that's very good from KLH side, playing defensively and then face-checking instead of having vision.
And now once goes mid lane, actually misses another gank. So having no luck whatsoever in this early game. Good trade from Ramune.
A lot of the trades like that for Arise, if it doesn't outright win the lane, start to hurt his mana pool quite desperately. And you don't have the Dematerializer this early into the game anymore as Arise, so you do run out of mana sooner. especially when you have to do all of that mana on the cannon minion specifically. So it's a small detail, but it could work out nicely for KLH as an opportunity in mid still maybe presents itself.
Yeah, you can see RHedge actually just aggresses forward. However, Ramune not really wanting all that much with it, just catching the wave. Bottom lane, however, that is going to be Gang going in. You already used the flash. Yutori Moyashi will be able to, no, gets first blooded. Gang goes backwards as well. TP cancelled.
Super close stuff for the bottom lanes, trading at level 2. The Ignites go off a piece, but the Zyra can't still prove to be too strong. The death timer basically non-existent, however, for the Vladimir. He'll get back to lane incredibly quick.
All the summoner spells are gone. Goes for a Sora effecty again. Flash forward from Yutori Moyashi, but nothing happening in this bottom lane.
Big from Superior, saves his AD carry, keeps him alive, and they just dodge the flick from once. Able to disengage, but still no teleports is a big hurting factor even after they get that kill and they get that minor victory.
And so much expended. That's another flash out of once. That's a flash out of Yutori Moyashi as well as that TP, and it just all fizzled.
For me, a lot of this could come back to hurt them. Pentagram, absolutely, if Caspiel comes into play. But the end result of this, surprisingly not that bad. The summoner's gone, but the kill went over to Superior, went over to the support. And AD carry is going to miss a chunk of this wave under the turret as well.
Very good point. I mean, one of the reasons that gank was that kill was successful is that it's a heal on a Zoraveki. That's a very standard summoner, not something I'm used to seeing down there in the bottom lane.
Oddly standard right now. And if that was a teleport, he was dead.
Absolutely the case. Check in with the rest of the map completely even. You're going to have Gangplank with Klepto, so he's going to fall down early. Mid lane, dead even. You know, mana an issue right now for Ramune. RHedge did use that teleport.
Because Ramune have a TP of his own with 37 CS. He's got more than enough for a tier, perhaps working towards a Catalyst as well super early.
So do you still go Catalyst? Is Rise still, you know, the tier Catalyst? Are you still wanting Rod of Ages into Seraphs? Or is there... We see a lot of tier potentially into something like...
We've seen Seraphs into like Morellos as very aggressive builds. Luden's also potential options.
What's the item that makes you run real quick?
Shirelias?
Shirelias. We've seen a lot of Seraphs into Shirelias in the OPL potential.
That's definitely true. I mean, for the case of Shirelias, in this game, if you wanted to beat KLH, you have to kill the Xayah. And there is one form of lockdown CC that is super reliable on the side of Pentagram, and that is a Rise. So if you're able to use Shirelias, get in range, it could be the work.
About getting in range, that's going to be Caspiel getting the knock-up, going to get big damage onto Paz. Paz turns around for an auto. Will survive.
Now, surprisingly, a good trade for Paz, I have to admit. So he goes back to base or teleport. Missing health from Caspiel is moving damage that's not going to be as reliable through the map. But he's got the Scuttle, he's got the potions, and a Smite potentially to be used. And we'll regain that health rather quickly.
Certainly will. You see Once just trying to clear out some vision around this mid lane. Has pretty much spent the entire game on vision so far, Rusty.
I don't really feel like I've seen him farming, actually, but he's still only 5 down. So considering that, not too bad. And of course, Inzao's not known for his epic clear speed on Raptor camps or anything of the like. So the CS difference shouldn't grow too much. I like the idea from Once, and it seems to be working out decently well, especially around this mid lane control. Rise has got himself a CS advantage.
Certainly has up 12 now, maybe due to the fact that RHedge used that TP into the bottom lane. You see now Collapse coming in.
Looking for the dive, Ramune, of course, potentially able to do so. Just throws an overload towards them and says, I'm here, watch out. But is going to go back to mid regardless. Good vision, actually, from Pentagram through the river.
Paz top lane, meanwhile, has expended the ultimate. However, there is a Xin Zhao up here. And this might be the Gangplank going a little bit too aggressive. Runs very quickly, however. Karma is also heading up, and Caspiel will be able to do some good damage. Great slow from Mundo over the wall, and Paz falls down.
The Cleaver, the biggest MVP there for certain. Paz does unfortunately dive bottom, continuing to trade, but that big victory on the top side, giving a kill over to Caspiel, means a great deal. Everyone on the side of Pentagram is squishy except for Gang, who even now is. As he dodges that, maybe accidentally.
Certainly was accidentally. Now we'll take some big damage. Red buff is going to be applied. Realm Warp is going to come in. Flash is available, and Once will grab the kill.
And the flash maybe not even necessary, but a great idea from Ramune getting there super early with the ult. Big trades. Once this bottom lane does not relent in their fighting each other consistently. The Vladimir who wants to sustain, but there's so much threat on the opposing side. Having that extra combat summoner of the heal, and not afraid to take it back at him.
Just a bit of a biff.
Yeah, big biff.
A little bit of a back and forward here. You see Once trying to give over a red buff. Not the healthiest Talia. Puts herself between a rock and a hard place this time.
It does give over the blue to Ramune. No red buff steals. Thanks for that one, Spawn.
That's right. I'm here all week,
pretend
guys.
I never
am
heard
here
that.
all week. As Yutori Moyashi going to be chunked out here by Hazoroveki. Actually, will get engaged on. We'll have to punt him back underneath the turret and uses the Ignite. That's a bit premature.
Yeah, I'm going to say that Ignite was not necessary because you can dash back to safety. A lot of the time you'll headbutt and you'll want to save the Pulverize for when he goes to dash back to his allies. Maybe the Ignite would have had value there. Vladimir, in the middle of charging his E, doesn't find it.
Gung going to take some big damage off the turret. Actually gets rooted up. The Zoroveki is starting to take over this lane. Will force them back.
One of the players that can take over an entire game, not just the lane, so a lot of respect needs to be paid towards his lane. You've seen once down there a couple of times, but still the control belonging to them as an end result. A lot of this comes down to the Rakan strength. Every time he goes forwards, you have to blood pull the engage, or you risk dying. And once we tick over to 6, that engage can be more instant. The Ignite becomes available. There is some serious kill threat that Pentagram need to respect.
Yeah, and Pentagram actually opted into that Summoner Spell mismatch. They thought they could pick something up. Now they probably have to play defensive, do you think, in this 2v2?
I'd say from 6 onwards, yeah, you've got to be pretty defensive and at least respect it unless your jungler is on the strong side or the bottom side of the map, making you stronger. Especially like starting items that they went for. Yutori goes towards the coin. Ancient Coin start usually indicates that I don't plan on fighting super early, yet they went for the level 2 all-in type of fight. So bit of a mismatch in terms of mentality and play style. However, from now, yeah, give respect.
Potentially could be the case. You can see right now, Once is trying to use Paz as potential bait.
But do they want the 2v2 spawn?
They could potentially. They're going to get some good damage across. Paz right now is in a lot of trouble. Uses that stopwatch, however, will not be able to grab the kill yet and will just fall down already. However, Ramune is heading over. Yutori Moyashi has used that teleport.
Everyone
in they
in.
go. Everyone looking for the fight. That will be 1 kill already picked up. Caspiel should be able to disengage. Will not fall down to the Hemo play, but great flash. Threat and volley out of Once.
Good flash. Make sure the trade is there. In the end, it looks like it's just going to be a 1 for 2, but blinking health bars pretty much across the board. Very nicely executed from KLH in a fight where they were not there with numbers. They were not perhaps in a position that they could have done well in. They still do perfectly fine. They get control of bottom lane. They lose people, but they force summoners to lose those people, and that could have been so much worse.
Yeah, it certainly could have. They got the flash as well as the teleport out of Yutori Moyashi, flash out of Gung, and Once for 2 kills. And looks like they could potentially take first turret here, given the fact that that is just a lonely Moo Cow heading down.
Yeah, it looks like he just wants to play it a bit more cautiously. He can see Yutori Moyashi on the map, so denying minions perhaps a bigger end result for them in the way that they would like. Risky did not take
combo
it.
is there, however. Gung will go a little bit aggressive. Wave will be cleared out. I agree. It's 1,000 gold just sitting on the map right now that they did not take. One small skirmish in the bottom lane away from losing it all.
A big difference here may be that they have 2 teleports, Pentagram, so they could have tried to come down towards bottom lane, but that was also matched from the Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Shiro had one of his own, and as does Arhedge.
Shiro going aggressive again, will be flicked back this time, does not have ultimate. There's a red buff being applied. However, he does so much damage trying to get it done, but Paz will grab the kill.
Now on the opposite side, you are seeing the attempt at a trade. The turret does inevitably fall, and Superior actually going to trade that gold, share the gold rather, with Zoroveki. Does not give the solo good over.
Yeah, so the only support I allow to pick it up is a support that is willing to buy me a Zeeks. If you aren't buying me a Zeeks, you can go get stuffed.
What about a Fiddlesticks that needs a Zonias?
Nah, don't want to hear it. If it's not for me, mate, you go find your gold somewhere else. Go gank a mid lane. Looks like the trade potentially on the top side of the map.
Yeah, they'll be very slow on this trade, though. They were going for the pick. That was 2 teleports, actually, by Akama and Amundo. They want to hold this.
However, they are bringing more members up. That's some good damage already out onto the Karma. See whether they can get any more members up there. Looks like they're trading out a Dragon right now.
Yeah, clearly aware of what's happening on the map here is KLH. They send 2 teleports instantly. They don't reactively teleport. And that is saying that we are going to hold this turret as we are getting the Dragon at the same time. And we're starting to see good things from them, cross-map plays from them that seems to be working out.
And this is what I thought you would see. Without the aggression of the Oceanic lineups, without the constant, back and forward, they are faring a little bit better. A lot of these fights have been around, jostling for map position as opposed to just running people down lanes.
Yeah, I give some credit to Once for being constantly active as well, but I guess the bigger difference might be the team-based play or even the vision surrounding the want or need for that play. Pentagram's vision has been solid, but it's been mostly neutral. And now as you take a second to look at the map, you'll notice that it's pretty much all in KLH's court.
Certainly is. They are still only even in gold, even though they get that first turret advantage. Mountain Drake going to be helpful as the game progresses. As,
The Hex Flash. When you've got it, you use it. That's the Alistar way.
What a silly animation it is. It's going to be Storm Razor picked up. Also going to be Vladimir's first item there in the Spellbinder. Across the board, really everyone now sitting on one item spikes. Very curious that Paz has been able to grab himself a Trinity Force equal to a Sunfire Cape. One of those items is much more expensive than the other one, Rusty.
Yes, definitely having that Klepto will help a bit. 600 gold is the difference between these top laners. And as it stands, with the amount of attention that came up here from junglers, it's very hard to sit there and get an advantage at all, especially as the Mundo in this case. Constantly rotating towards Caspiel or constantly having once there to pressure him. So they've done very well for themselves here, Pentagram through the top side. And they've set up their gangplank.
They actually want in here as well. That is going to be Superior going in onto Yutori Moyashi, and he will fall down. However, ultimate was burnt. Caspiel will be dragged back. Gung is there by himself. Paz now looking for it. He flashes over, looks for once. Will get the flash out of Ramune as well. Zoroveki flashes
aggressive.
forward. Huge play. However, now will be CC'd and will fall down, and the fight continues. That is an absolute wash for Pentagram.
KLH get nothing in the way they want. Pentagram get all 5 kills. Superior only just alive. The opportunity to go towards the Rift Herald presents itself. If once gets the Alistar to tank for him, and they'll finally get that. They'll work it out. Clean fight.
Certainly was. I mean, everything was burnt there. Look at the summoner spells. Next to nothing available, and still it was Pentagram coming out on top.
Immediate Merc trades of the purchase from Zoroveki after that fight. He knows that it's a big whoopsies, and I think once we get to see that replay or see that fight again, you'll notice that Zoroveki's choice to flash may have been a bit too much.
Yeah.
A bit of a reach, you might say.
Went real forward, didn't he?
Like mega forward.
Like stuck his face in it forwards.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to say that it was an int, but he died after it, and he used a lot to go forwards. We'll see the start of the fight again. Rakan also, you'll see this engage, maybe could have went back towards the Xayah if he had the dash available, but may not have had it on cooldown. So they'll go in here. Talia Wall tries to block the escape, but ultimately he's the one being attacked by Azin. And here you watch the moment where they probably could have backed away, and that's just a lot forwards. It's just so much forwards that maybe should not have been, and then the rest of them do inevitably die.
And the big thing is, look at where Pentagram's vision is. You know, both brushes that people could retreat to, fully warded out. However, KLH had no vision on that top side of the map, so he's flashing forward, but Alistar's just tucked away behind the corner. Really like the fact that Pentagram had set up that area beforehand.
And they're right next to us on this stage, so you can hear the yells from the team as well if they're committing themselves to fights. Very vocal, very active as communicators. And with that victory, they've got some momentum on this map. A gold leader's forged itself.
And that's without any turrets so far. You know, they're down their neutrals in the Dragon, in the turret. However, they're up in such a big way with a huge damage comp. Like, I cannot stress this. The only person on this comp that does not do a ton of damage is Alistar.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned this at the start of the game as well. Mundo's the kind of champion that can be ahead or behind by great margins. This is currently one of those Mundos that I would say is pretty comprehensively behind, especially when your opposing team is all damage dealers that will be able to tank you out very quick.
Especially given the fact that you can see 2 Oblivion Orbs already sitting there. This is going to be double Morellinomicon picked up very early for Pentagram. Potentially they're in behind. However, Jungler is now going to square off once, has to flash over the wall, knows that Caspiel doesn't have that summoner.
And one thing is still certain between these junglers if they meet. Whilst Once has had a very good game so far, if there is a Xin Zhao in his face, he does not win that trade unless he can flick him to safety. There was a good flash over a big wall and knows that the Xin can't follow. But if they ever meet each other again, note that he doesn't have that flash.
And the only time the flick actually wins is if Zin's already used his E. Otherwise, you know, a couple of auto attacks plus phase rush means you will catch back up. You can see potentially looking for a dive on Paz right now.
We just saw this from the Direwolves in the last game as well. Send your jungler to the Mundo lane. Paz is a fairly squishy champion, and Mundo can tank for days. Caspiel has enough damage to find that kill.
But he's kind of deceptive sometimes, Gameplank. You have to really get it right if he does get the oranges off at the last moment. His top lane turret will fall down.
Nice turret take as the first one for Pentagram in this one. Considering we're 17 minutes in, that is a relatively late turret to be seen. It's one of those things where first turret blood into consideration. Everything should have been going decently for KLH, but the power play, it's online.
And they've already dropped the Gangplank ultimate bottom to delay that turret take. Now using the Rift Herald, Shally top lane for a big charge here. Should be able to take 2 for none. However,
teleports.
Yeah, certainly coming in. That's a very
Yeah, there's
low.
no health.
Yeah.
You reckon the Gangplank was just wailing on him while he was teleporting? I'm not too sure. He was missing a lot of HP there. He's going to sprint it down towards mid lane, and there's a dragon up in 1 second. So they're on their way down the river.
What is going on, Zach?
The wonderful infernal drake. I'm moving on. I'm not sure.
Paz won't face check the Xin Zhao. However, they will use a couple of TPs to get back here. However, now Paz does go in, will get ultied up, and will get bursted out.
30 odd seconds away from the flash was Paz there. So dies the Gangplank for 30 seconds now. The opportunity for Pentagram to get that dragon is gone, but they find a chance to just walk mid instead. I think that's still a decent trade.
I mean, you never want to give away an Infernal Drake plus a kill, but if you can get mid lane turret for it, it's not the worst thing in the
It
world.
opens up Baron control above all else, you know, when you're 18 minutes, almost 19 minutes in, and you do get their mid lane outer, yours is still standing and very healthy. You can see there's no colorations on the minimap. They're in a good position.
However, over the wall they go. Caspiel has been caught out. Gung will take that with the Ignite. Very good pick.
Yeah, igniting a big slap, and that's a bit of retribution there for Caspiel going down. Has the flash himself, but no opportunity to use it. And once again, what was going to be control of the Baron area now multiplies.
When you're a Xin Zhao and you don't have magic resist, I mean, he's got like Merc Treads at this stage. If you get hit by Ignite as well as Hemoplague, I think you just assume you're falling. No point using the Summoner spell after that.
If you're playing Xin Zhao and you ult, right, and
Yep.
if Vladimir has the Hemoplague but he's out of the circle, it doesn't do damage, does it?
Correct. But he didn't have ult.
Yeah.
He'd already used it.
That's upsetting.
Yep. It is a little bit.
I
So-
just don't like Xin either way.
We're getting about 20 minutes into the game. Couple of neutrals picked up, but a 3,000 gold lead right now for Pentagram. Who are you favoring? The damage comp versus, you know, the more well-rounded comp?
When it comes to League of Legends spawn, one thing is always certain, is when a tank is ahead, he stays ahead. When a tank is behind, tends to stay behind. And you'd be relying on some pretty big plays coming out of the non-tanks of KLH to make it work. I'm favoring the Pentagram side, the damage composition. But I've got my eyes set on Azoroveki, and immediately as I say that, he's got a Hex Drinker, so his damage output is not maximized. He's looking to survive, and that's where my concern lies.
Yeah, it certainly is the case, especially when you got the full AP Karma that can shield you up.
Rakan,
Maybe
yeah.
don't need that Rakan, as you mentioned. I'm looking at Soup. I think if Soup can get some good engages, actually they've been caught out here. Headbutts him off the flick, and now Caspiel just runs straight at once, trying to take him down, will flash away and survive. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Ramune had caught out Soup, will chunk him out.
Yeah, good flash and ulti from Caspiel. Does well to stay alive, especially with that Baron always being a present threat. The machine gun damage of Arise and Italia could take it down fairly quickly, but they're missing health, they're missing summoner spells. They have to respect Pentagram, and so they lose control of most of the map.
You can just see the aggression coming out of Pentagram right now, trying to grab landmass away from KLH, strangle them out. However, there is a nice flank ward behind them. We just saw it in the dot push.
Yeah, that single ward may mean the difference when it comes to Baron dances or fights around the area. You expect to see that one cleared. Most sweepers will go through that exact area. The ones you don't see are often just to the top of the Baron pit, where they're hidden away, tucked in the corner.
And the way you should sweep, for those that don't really, you know, carry that item around a lot, you know, you sit on your yellow trinket a lot, is you should continue to walk.
That's subtle BM.
You should take other people to hit the wards for you.
Yeah.
You should continue to walk forward and make sure you get maximum area
You
out
actually
of that.
want the flying V pattern.
Yep.
You know, with people on left and right of you that can hit wards quickly, because you both get gold firstly, so it's valuable.
Certainly is. You see Gung once again just going in, trying to get control of this area. KLH doing a very good job of bouncing it back
Yeah.
at the moment.
That particular bush is theirs.
It certainly could be. However, looks like right now Ahedge is not going to be theirs. He's just going to get blown up. However, Zoroveki has grabbed Yatori Moyashi down in the bottom lane. They will get Ahedge, but they've committed so many resources. You can see Alistar just backing away now.
Yeah, Gangplank's able to save Gang from dying. Paz able to get there and put the kegs down, distract them, and maybe threaten them. So he's able to disengage. It does make it the 1-for-1 trade. Ultimately, there is a teleport for Ahedge. There is not one for Yutori Moyashi. So you take that 1-for-1 if you're KLH and you feel very good about it.
Especially given the fact that right now Shiro is in bottom lane, continuing to grow a CS lead, and they regain full control of this Baron area.
One thing scares me here, as Shiro may disappear depending on if Gang can
Potentially could, however, he runs real quick.
Yeah, he presses
and,
the R
you know,
button.
he's got a meeting to make. He's on a phone call right now. Leave him alone. Take
get
another
in.
look
Go
at this.
that way. We go replay. We see the fight where the AD carry, the bottom laner rather, of Yutori Moyashi dies. And ultimately, just that 1-for-1. We said it was a good thing for KLH. At the same time, it's not going to do anything but reset the map. And my concern, to come back to that, is now that the Morellos are done, now that the damage is available to be dealt from Pentagram, that is a big rise. That is a rise that can lock you down and kill you, even if you have MR.
Yeah, he's not real tanky, but if you don't hit him and he hits you, he'll win.
That's usually the way it works in League of Legends, you know?
Sometimes.
If you hit their Nexus, they don't hit yours, you tend to win a little bit more.
I like it. I'm going to write that one down. So still only 3,000 gold the lead, but feels like, once again, ball firmly is in Pentagram's side of the court.
And the respect from KLH is very much noted. You said they've got good control of that single bush, and they do. They've put about 17 control wards into that single bush to control it. But it looks like Pentagram, they've even found the bush that they were after. They get access to the red side jungle, so maybe the picks don't happen on the Kuala Lumpur Hunters side.
And look how quick Gung is just running around. Ramune might have caught out Superior here. No, he has not. So we'll just go get the Fat Wave top lane.
And there is a Zeke's now done for the Rakan. There is a rapid fire cannon completed now for Azura Veki, and they are getting some item spikes. Not a lot of resistance from their opposing side here on Pentagram. So that rapid fire cannon's just good access with a guaranteed crit into the front line. That will be squishy. So it's a good start for them in terms of item spikes.
Yeah, and I mean, Xayah only gets better as the game goes on, especially given the fact, as you said, Zeke's is going to be there. Interested to see where Soup's build goes from here. Ramune was nearly flanked on there, but will be safe, and Dragon will spawn in about 10 seconds, potentially where the next fight will break out.
Yeah, definitely when you're looking at that Dragon. Is it an Infernal? It is. That's definitely a place you'll be looking at now for a fight, even more so. Cloud Drake is valuable just for the Earth, Wind, and Fire, but
you can see right now Shiro's being caught out. Good ultimate will corral him back towards the turret. However, Yutori Moyashi again has to go into pool early, and Shiro will just walk this one off.
both champions fairly hard to kill, especially when the blood pool works, but
Cannon Barrage goes down and multiple members will take the Rise Portal. No, they will not. They will just bait it, and now Caspiel's being caught out on the wrong side of the map. Will eventually fall down. Yutori Moyashi flashes in for that one, and now Shiro just running away. But Mondo, in this case, will not go where he pleases and will fall down.
He'll be late for the meeting. Dragons should be secure. Bottom lane turret also theirs for Pentagram. They get everything that they could want and more, as they look like they're just going to avoid the Infernal for a little bit, continue to push bottom lane. KLH maybe not wanting that fight, step up a little bit too close.
Yeah, just trying to take the maximum right now, have a massive creep wave, will shove it into the turret off the back end of this, should be able to grab it. Actually, once is already there. And that's a nice play.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic play for the LJL team. Now they'll be able to reset, spend a lot of gold that they would assuredly just have earned, and move over, translate towards the Baron area. That's 2,000 in the pockets of this Rise, and he was already big.
It certainly is, and he's also going to grab top lane just on his way there. We'll come back for blue buff, I'm sure.
Red dot syndrome will get the better of him.
It's a serious illness. I can't help myself. I'm not gonna judge him for it.
I'm not judging. Definitely, I played Bard, man, and I still take those for no reason if I see a wave that big.
Chimes are the Bard's illness. When I see Chimes and I see Bard disappear into Fog of War, I just wait for him. So we see Soup. That's a real nice deep ward. However, might have been spotted out now by Gung. Will not go over the wall.
And they won't know exactly where that ward went until they go to the blue buff. But Rise needs to take that blue still. What it does say is that the blue is up. And if KLH want to make a play, maybe they could catch out that Rise by himself over at the objective. We'll have to see. From the looks of it, Talia also not taking the bush, doing just Gromp. Plays could be made.
Yeah, potentially could be the case, because right now is one of the windows that KLH have. They are going to actually speed in the Mundo, try and get the fight started. Once will have to flash again, but a very nice Rune Prism. However, now Ramune has been caught out. Big damage. Will pop that shield. In goes Caspiel, and so much damage coming out of Yutori Moyashi. Will pop everyone on the back line. However, Azura Veki is also still up and available, pumping out the DPS, and it looks like right now that the two damage dealers may potentially win this one. However, now it's been turned on its head. Once goes into the back line, trying to clean someone else, but he also, will not fall down. Will take out the mid laner. Finally, Azura Veki shuts him down, and that is the ace.
And it's a triple kill for Amundo at the ward, the place. The one ward that they placed down, they're able to get a fight around it, and that's all you need to get a team fight started. If you force the Talia to disengage, and the shove's used just to knock you back. The wall wasn't even used to get anything done, and there you go, the setup time removed, Pentagram lose.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like they were so far behind. However, they have just reclaimed 3,000 of that 6,000 gold differential. Let's see it again.
And once does start with the early flash flick him away. Now, Rakan also gets a very good engage. Through all of this time, Ozorovecki is fighting and outputting damage. Paz flashing just to get the Xin Zhao is lacking out Keg AoE and also mistimes his Q there, which may have been the kills. That might have actually just been the entire team fight lost with the smallest mechanical error there from Paz. Yutori's doing a lot of work. Once comes in and is able to clean up some kills on the back end, but inevitably goes down.
Yeah, look, I don't like judging Gangplanks because I suck at the character. However, he missed 3 barrels. And also on the 1 barrel he hit, missed the chain. So in total, I think hit 0 barrels in that team fight. And that could be Baron started up now.
Now KLH have got control of the area from that last fight. Very difficult to get any entry to the area, so it's just going to be seeded from the Pentagram side. And this opportunity to use the Baron, remember their composition. Remember that the Karma is huge and is giving massive shield to the Xayah.
And already Ramune has been caught out underneath this turret, gets the root. However, Caspiel might have gone too deep and eventually will fall down. That is the pick. So the rest of KLH have to back away.
And look, a turret does go their way, but they also lose their jungler for 40 seconds. When a Baron power play lasts 3 minutes, you lose most of that now. You have to recall, reset, and just try and slowly establish control of the map again. Pentagram in a 4v5, don't care about your Baron.
Yeah, and Caspiel giveth. Caspiel kind of taketh away about a couple of seconds later.
Yes, he does.
Started up a very nice team fight for his team. However, that was, for all intents and purposes, a little bit over-aggressive.
Yeah, a substantial amount of over-aggressive, I might say. Now, the Stormrazor is done for Paz, so if he hits one of those kegs, believe me, that will be critting now, and that will be doing significant amounts of damage. And in terms of item spikes, that is a significant one for the GP moving forward. Serif's Gauge working with the Sheen, doubling up that damage when it's procced as well. If he hits you, you'll know it.
Certainly could. Has to hit you first. Saw a team fight where he struggled to do that a little bit.
You've got to find Wally before you can flip the page, but you know, when you find him, it's very exciting.
Goes back, grabs himself another BF sword as well, so really is scaling up now. You can see Void Staff's finished on the AP threats as well, apart from the Vladimir, who's really got everything he wants. On the other side, however, Arhedge now sitting on a death cap. You can see that Ozorovecki has everything he wants, even though he went for the defensive Hex Drinker.
And you're familiar with these builds more than I am. It's the Death Cap, Luden's Echo Karma, no Athene's Unholy Grails to be seen. So all about giving that AP damage and getting shield from that alone, not looking for the heal utility.
And the big thing behind it is because not all your comps have 80 carries in them now. So the ability to just get big shields, big movement speed bonuses seems to be what Karma's favor is. Actually, in they go. Gung wants to fight. Already Ozorovecki has been stunned up, however, will not fall down. Superior with a huge ultimate on the backside, and Ozorovecki is pumping out the damage. Shiro is unkillable. He is taking next to no damage, and he's just throwing Mundo files at everyone. And they will win the fight.
Yeah, they win it, but there's no health. So I don't think Kuala Lumpur Hunters are looking too aggressively past this point. You can see Caspiel, he's going to try and regenerate health, but I think he got net even with the smite used there. But Ozorovecki's alive. He's full health, he's got the Karma shields, and it will be at the very least this turret.
And he's certainly one of the last hopes. Actually, in they go. Once gets flashed on, gets slowed. However, the rest of the team not on the same page. Shiro actually going so low, will be taken down, and now the fight has been flipped on its head. Paz continuing the chase here. However, with Karma Shield, should be able to disengage.
Too hard to chase them down, and that's actually the cardinal sin that Pentagram continue to commit in these fights. They're going forwards into Ozorovecki when they're not ready to wombo him. And the Karma Shield Superior's kiting. They're able to just kite backwards and deal damage so incredibly well as a composition that it continues to bite Pentagram.
Certainly does. If you do not kill the Xayah, if she's able to go in targetable and continue to kite you out, you are in for a bad time. That's just happened time and time again. Another Mountain Dragon picked up. You'd expect one more Baron for this lineup to probably end the game now, Rusty.
You'd have to have the expectation that the next Baron, whoever picks it up, regardless of team, is going to be the big game ender. When these carries have hit all of these items, you get Baron, you get side lane control naturally, and you could threaten a 1-4 with the Gangplankers. You're seeing the damage. You're seeing what's going to happen if they find a carry. For the opposite side, for KLH, the minions can just be corralled in with that Baron buff. They don't need to step up and take the fights. They can just force Pentagram to deal with that first, and that's all the entryway they need.
Once again, Ramune just seems to be absolutely monstrous. However, the execution of Rise, the execution of, you know, the Gangplank in these fights, they're just harder. if you play Mundo, you run at people. If you play Karma, you hit E on your 80 carry, then you kind of hands off the keyboard, Jesus, take the wheel. However, Rise, Gangplank, they require the combos to be down and on point. That hasn't been the case.
I agree, but just note that everyone at home, Spawn's not telling you to play Mundo mid. He's saying simple champions.
Yeah, win game. I'm a big fan of Garen at the moment. I think Garen beats everything. As Caspiel going to run in, take away a little bit of that vision control in the blue buff area.
And the Infinity Edge for Azoroveki is the biggest spike of all. Chose to go towards the Hex Drinker. It looks super dire for them in terms of itemization and his lack of damage output, but now that's starting to amplify with the IE completed. That Doran's Blade could absolutely be control wards, but I will not comment on that one too much.
Nah,
the rest of it
matters. Needs a little bit of life steal, I think he feels. Rusty, as actually they go in and delete Soup. Now the fight could continue as that's a very nice Gangplank ultimate. However, Rise Portal will finally be taken. In goes the Angry Cow. Actually gets knocked into his team, and that sets up a huge Hemo Plague. Azoroveki, however, still untouched, and once trapped himself behind his own wall. That's not what you want to do as Talia. Shiro now trying to disengage. However, flash forward out of Ramune, but he's getting chunked out. He will fall down. Azoroveki is absolutely massive. That's a double kill for the Xayah, and the fight shall continue. One's now just looking to disengage. However, they will not be stopped. Flash forward out of the Xayah. Red buff is alive. Once will go down, make that a triple kill. They just continue
they're teleporting
the chase,
to
and
end.
they're channeling to end.
Yeah, it looks like they're just going to teleport to the base. No Baron, but super minions are there, and it seems like they've done enough.
Yeah, Paz once again will be stuck 1v5 against a team trying to defend his base, but this time Shiro just looking to solo him out, chases him back to his Nexus, and Azoroveki is here. The one man that can carry a team has done so, and KLH pick up their first win.
And Southeast Asia goes 3-2 at the moment, where the LJL side, where the Japanese region goes 1-6. Absolute disaster coming out of Pentagram. But for KLH, their first victory, it's got to feel sweet. It's got to feel real good to get that one on the board.
And whilst I don't want to make it all about Oceania, with that win, KLH has just secured Oceania first place, and they will make it through to the final. And you can just see that KLH, I mean, this was a completely different lineup. They got allowed to scale. The tempo of the game was in their court, and finally their superstar 80 carry was able to shine.
Yeah, you're seeing some very noticeable differences here for the KLH side. And I mean, there was some inconsistencies still. There were some things that need to be explored moving into their forthcoming games, but there were some definite strengths. And we saw Azoroveki go massive.
We certainly did. Soup also having a very good game.
A hearty performance.
Once again, Pentagram looked good at certain patches, however, just weren't able to string it all together when it counts. Guys, this person in my ear keeps telling me different things. So apparently Ose is through to the finals, maybe not secured first place. Maybe I jumped the gun there. Maybe it's my fault. However, I think that this is pretty dire now for the LJL.
Yeah.
Even their best teams coming out, they seem to be performing well, throughout the early game, mid game, but these late game calls, these scrappy fights, really starting to upset them. And almost what we see sometimes when, the LPL plays Korea, they just get under your skin. They just keep annoying you with this aggressive play style, and eventually you fall down.
And there's something that I could say towards them that I think you even mentioned in the game, right? It's ease of execution in a lot of their compositions. This is an example of something that could be easy, but isn't executed properly, and they make a mistake. They've also had compositions that are wombo that should be easier to execute, that they've executed poorly. And that's in team fights. It's always in team fights. And then in this game, they pick a hard to execute composition and they don't execute correctly. And I'm noticing a trend that I think could be actually fixed just a little bit more with ease of execution with their compositions.
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing teams like Priority on Kled of all champions. He's really easy to execute. You hit R and run down the lane very, very quickly. Mundo, they're playing the Aatroxes. They're playing the Gangplanks, and it's just not working out. Even the Ryze in the mid lane was so snowballed. When you have a Ryze that has 5 items, you expect to win the game, but they just couldn't make it work.
And for me, it may even just be strategically what they're doing with those champions. If Ryze is strong, you could send him to the side lane with teleport and maybe threaten the Mundo's health bar. You've got a Morello's, there's opportunities to get kills, but it feels like they say we are 5v5ing or we are not fighting at all, and that's a big part of their gameplay.
Certainly is, but at the same time, you can't take away from the Kuala Lumpur Hunters, finally able to pick up that win, finally showing what they're made of and doing the C region proud. However, guys, don't go anywhere. After this break, we have our final game of the night as Direwolves take on Ascension.